And the Toronto Raptors take the 3-2 series lead, it should be noted, entering the season. There were 34 conference finals, tied 2-2 under the current playoff format. The loser of Game 5 only went on to win the series on 6 occasions, 18% of the time. Shows you how important Game 5 is in these series. So to help us break it all down, we are joined in studio by ESPN NBA analyst Tim Legler, giving us a Straight Talk brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Everything for less. Only at Walmart. Like, thanks for the time this morning. When you look at last night and the way the Bucks particularly fell apart in the fourth quarter, how do they put that behind them and actually try and get back into the series?
Well, it's a lot more for me than just about the fourth quarter last night. It's about the last 3 games. And when you have a guy that you're so dependent upon to break things down, and if you don't provide enough help on him, he's scoring at the rim and dominating you in that way. But that's what you're really, how you're feeding your entire roster. And that food chain is taken away because that's what Toronto has done. They're loading up the lane to an extent that I don't think I've ever seen a that's on this level. And he doesn't really have another way to trump that. He doesn't know how to overcome what he's seeing. And as a result, they've completely changed the way the Bucks offense operates from what we watched all year when they won more games than any team in the league. So I don't know what the answer is for the Bucks, other than they're going to have to shoot an insane percentage, I think, from the three-point line to go to Toronto and win a game and get this back home for a game.
Is that clearly where we are? Because Antetokounmpo is not going to change. I heard you talk
not
about
adding that.
Working on it in the offseason, working on that pull-up, that mid-range. It's not going to happen right now. So is that their only hope? Because you can't imagine Toronto's changing anything. Shooters just got to hit these shots. I mean, is this what Milwaukee's future is hinging on?
Yeah, it is right now. Look, Antetokounmpo is everything you want in a young star in terms of, for your franchise. He's a great leader. He's a great teammate. He cares deeply. He's competitive. He needs to go to work this summer. If they lose this series, the way to which he's been exposed and how you can now limit him, and at times, flat out, make him look awkward. I mean, I did a tape this morning about 4 plays from the second half, really the last 14 minutes of the game. And you're going, this doesn't look like what an MVP should look like. You know, falling down on a drive, shooting an air ball, turnaround jumper, throwing a pass into the crowd off the dribble. Like, these are areas that he needs to address, and I'm confident he will. The problem is, you're asking me, like, in the moment, right? How are we supposed to do this now and go win a game? Now, look, he plays fast. He'll get a few opportunities up the floor. Hopefully, he can get a couple more of those. He needs, though, more than anything else, he's going to need Nico Mirotic and Bledsoe and Lopez, Connaughton and Hill to make threes at a high rate if you want to go up there and win a road game in Toronto to get this thing back for a Game 7 in your building. It's what you earned it for. If you can get it there, we know in the statistics on home teams winning a Game 7, you're going to feel pretty good about that. But I just don't know if this is going to turn in that direction because Toronto really feels like they've solved this problem. And they're going to dare other guys to step up into the brightest light imaginable. And I think Toronto's confident now they've figured this out and they're going to end this thing on Saturday.
Tim Legler with us in the studio here on Go and Go. Kawhi Leonard been the best player this postseason?
Yes. And in fact, the Philadelphia series, I said at the time, the Philadelphia series was as good as any series I've seen any player have in any round in any year. That's how good he was offensively against the 76ers. And, you know, he's had some moments in this one where he's been a little quieter, and he's obviously dealing with some physical things because he's just not moving the same. But, my goodness, I mean, what he did last night, that to me just stamps it. You know, Curry, Leonard, take your pick. But what Curry has done since Durant went down over the last 6 games, you know, it's really incredible to see him just turn it on a dime like that and go back to MVP Steph. That's not something that, you know, most people can even contemplate doing. So I think he's right there. But for me, start to finish, it's been Kawhi Leonard's postseason.
We're talking to Tim Legler in studio on Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio. Jason Pitt sitting in for Trey with Mike Golic Jr. When you look at Kawhi and the impact he's made, it's hard not to, for Toronto to constantly have the conversation of what's next. Can you get any sense, is there any way to get a sense from Kawhi of what this means for him moving forward?
I mean, can you get any sense of anything from Kawhi Leonard? I mean,
listen to that post-game interview last night.
Yeah, you know, it's like, you know, you use the word machine a lot. You describe him because it's so methodical the way he plays. He just kind of takes you apart. You know, in some ways he's like a machine in that way as well. Who knows? I have been under the impression from the very beginning this was a perfect market, perfect franchise for a guy that wants to be a quiet leader, that doesn't want a bunch of microphones in his face every day in a big market, explaining things and taking accountability and responsibility and solving problems. I don't think he wants any of that. So for me, I always thought Toronto is not quite on that level with places like New York and LA, where you're going to get that constantly. So I thought this is a good fit. It's a great fan base. It's a phenomenal city. It's one of my favorite cities in North America. And I thought, you know, the longer he's there, the more he's going to embrace what this could be moving forward. I could be dead wrong. He could have made up his mind the day he was there. That this is going to put my 1 year in and I'm headed west or wherever he wants to go. I just don't think anybody really has a real sense. But if you can't tell me that he's appreciating this and loving this, and he gets this team to a finals, potentially win a championship, their first ever, you know, is that enough to sway him? I mean, I don't know what could be better than that.
Keeping this on the court, and we'll get to some of the All-NBA stuff and the Supermaxes and that in a little bit. And I know we have a little while before the first game of the finals, but even the way Toronto is playing right now, and match him up against Golden State, is there any question in your mind it's so heavily favored still to Golden State, or are you seeing enough out of Toronto that says they could make this a big series?
Yeah, Golden State's going to be favored because, you know, their style of play is so difficult to predict, you know, where the ball's going to be. And I think that's what it comes down to when you're providing a game plan to stop a team, particularly in a series where you're going to get them 4, 5, 6, 7 times in a row. You know, when you're drawing up your defense, going over film, everything starts with, when the ball is here, we're going to do this, when the ball is here, we're going to do this. High pick and roll, side pick and roll, ISO, post play. You have a scheme, right? Warriors kind of throw that out the window because you don't know where the ball is going to be, because of the way they move it and the way they shoot it. So it's much harder to come up with a defensive game plan that you can stick to against a team that plays that way, because there's a random aspect to it and a chaotic aspect to it that makes it really difficult. So they'll be favored. I do think that Milwaukee or Toronto, probably now the way Milwaukee looks and Golden State sitting back watching this is Steve Kerr saying, okay, that's a pretty good blueprint to play Giannis. I think almost like Toronto now has changed my mind. I think they now may present a greater challenge because of Kawhi Leonard and the fact that he can score anywhere he needs to, which is what role players need their great players to be able to do.
And Kawhi has been great, and he's gotten support last night. I lovingly dubbed the Fred VanVleet game, and he's taking all the credit for it, rightfully so, not giving any to his 5-day-old son now. But the other guy that's really impressed me, and I was very critical of during prior year's playoff run, Kyle Lowry. Has this been his best postseason? Because from an outsider's perspective, I feel like we haven't seen this level of play from him ever this time of year.
Yeah, I would say yes, and I think it didn't start off great. And I'm watching him start the playoffs, and I'm going, man, is there going to be another one of those for Kyle Lowry? It's a shame, because I love the guy, and I love the competitiveness of what he does. But what he has done offensively has helped flip the switch, flip the script in the series as well. Because that's the one thing we were wondering. Like, where's the consistency going to come from in terms of option 2 and option 3? Because Siakam's not quite there yet to give you 20 every night on this stage. So where's it going to come from at a given night? Lowry's been pretty consistent now for the last several games. And then when you get some other role player, it was Powell in the last game in Toronto. Now it's VanVleet, who couldn't buy one to start the playoffs, and he's turned his postseason